Welcome back. You're watching Today, and 12 suspects implicated in Tabo Bester's elaborate escape from prison will be back in the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court on Wednesday. They face charges ranging from fraud, corruption, aiding and abetting a convict, violation of a corpse and arson. 9 of those implicated are out on bail currently. An eNCA senior reporter, Mpilonhle Baloyi, takes us through what we know and what we can expect.
It was a brief appearance for 12 suspects accused of assisting Tabo Bester escape from prison in August. But for Bester and Nandipha Magudumana, it was more of a reunion. The pair arrived in matching outfits, held hands, and could be seen catching up in an intimate conversation. Bester's lawyer told the court that the convict is demanding to have items and cash worth millions returned to him.
Marriage ring, 350,000 rands, and these are watches, your worship, and APX2, 2.5 million. There were 2 of those, your worship. And FM, 2.5 million, 2 of those as well. A Rolex O, 2.6 million rands, 2 of those. Just written as C, valued at 1,750 rands. A PP, valued at 1.9 million rands. Cash which is missing, 295,000 rands, South African rands, worship. 36,000 US dollars. 7,200,000 Tanzanian, I don't know if they are dollars or what, worship. And there's Zambian money, 1.4 million. European pounds, 500,000. Swiss francs, 150,000, worship.
But the police commissioner has since rubbished this.
What we are aware of as South African Police Service is that on arrival at Lanseria Airport, police confiscated 2 cell phones and a laptop. That's what we know and that's what we are aware of. We are aware that he paid a lawyer there with watches. So if he had cash on him, how then would he pay a lawyer for consultation with watches instead of paying his cash? We don't know about the cash. Maybe he can go and ask. I'm sure in Tanzania, I don't know. But we are only aware of 1 laptop, 2 cell phones that are currently in our stores.
Meanwhile, Magudumana has been fighting for her freedom unsuccessfully. In her bail bid, she claimed Bester kidnapped her and forced her to leave the country. But she's been labelled a flight risk who could facilitate another escape.
The evidence indicates that she does not really need a passport of her own to leave the borders of this country, but she crossed a few borders with accused number 5. It's a good indication that she has the necessary means, the know-how to leave the country.
Sinuhe Matswara, Zolile Sekeleni, Tebogo Dupulu, Mutenyana Masukela, Tiago Makhotsa, Nastasia Jansen, Tabang Mir, Jul Makheta, and Moiketi Ramudula have all been released on bail. Zimbabwean national Zanda Moyo abandoned his bail bid and remains behind bars. Bester is expected to once again be transported from Pretoria's Kgosimampuru prison to Bloemfontein for their next appearance. Mpilonhle Baloyi, Johannesburg.
Let's discuss this further with legal expert Mpilonhle Baloyi. Thank you very much for joining us in studio this afternoon, Advocate. Let's start with an overall view of what you've made of this case so far. So before what we saw last week that Mpilonhle broke down for us and what's coming up, the last we ended was Magudumana's bail application being denied, cited as being a flight risk. But your overall impressions of this case and what we are likely to see in the coming days.
Thanks, Rofhiwa, and greetings to the viewers. And thanks again for having me. Look, it's been an interesting one from the beginning, from the time of the arrest in Tanzania, them being brought back, the challenges of the court proceedings that we've seen, ranging from the bail applications, the bail appeals, the challenge of Dr. Magudumana, of her arrest and deportation and claiming it should have been an extradition. All those have been a culmination of an interesting story that is unfolding so far. And lastly, it was her unsuccessful bail application. And the common sentiment around that was mostly, why is she not getting bail when the other co-accused got their bail? But we have to also understand that bail is also assessed on a person-to-person basis. Even though you're all co-accused, the circumstances differ. And we then saw her bail bid being an unsuccessful one, with the court citing reasons. Well, as predicted, that many analysts, experts have also had predicted at that time that this bail bid is likely to be unsuccessful. And it indeed was. And strange enough, the other co-accused, when their bail bids were unsuccessful in the magistrate's court, they went on appeal, and subsequently the bail was granted on appeal. Then with Dr. Magudumana, we did not see such proceedings taking place, only that the bail bid was not successful and it did not go forward.
Yeah, and the circumstances are very important that you mention here, because we are looking at the case of Tabo and his appearances and the arguments that have been made by his defense about his belongings. As someone who should have been incarcerated and should have never escaped, one would wonder about how he got those belongings and how he's able to pay the his defense team for their defense in the court. Tell us a little bit about that argument that was put forward by the state, by the defense, that his belongings were stolen, and he had thousands of money in different currencies from across different countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So why was that argument important for the defense to put forward, and then for the commissioner to then dispute, to say, well, we only have one laptop and 2 cell phones and not all the other thousands and millions that he's spoken about in court?
You know, Rofhiwa, it's not always as clear-cut as saying you were serving a prison sentence in any event. So once we arrest you, we just throw you back and nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Now, we must consider the time between the escape and the time of arrest. Now, when he got re-arrested, his rights to a free trial again. Remember, he still needs to be retried for this present crime.
Yes.
Otherwise, then he would just be locked up and thrown in again, and we say, go continue. But for this particular crime, he still has to be tried. And the circumstances of the arrest also now become important. What happened in and around that arrest? Are the belongings that you lost? So his rights also still do kick in. And with what the state claims they have in possession and what they claim they don't have, that will still be upon him to prove, indeed you had these things, and indeed they are lost, you know. And the law will take its course in due course now, but now he has to face what's currently in front of him. Then it will probably just increase his sentence, but with the others being charged for the present crime as well.
Yeah. Tell us about the trial process then, and how long we are likely to see it take, given the number of people that are in the dock at the moment. And I don't know if you've seen, Advocate, but there are various reports saying that there are more arrests that are imminent in regards to this case. Should we get to a point where there's a trial, and I don't know where that will be because of the difference, the different nuances that have been thrown at play here, but tell us about those proceedings and when they are likely and how they would look like in this instance.
Rofhiwa, this is very difficult to speculate on, and for the simple reason that the state in their investigations ought to be very thorough, so that in that thoroughness we are able to secure a successful conviction, a successful prosecution which will lead to a conviction and sentence ultimately. So these beginning stages, the collection of evidence, knowing who to arrest and knowing who to bring into the dock, it could be that the number of accused people continues to increase.
Yes.
Looking at the type of crime also that has been committed. At the moment now, it's only 12 accused which will be appearing this week in court. The previous court proceedings postponed this for further investigations. Now, what I'm trying to indicate there is that these investigations are what will lead to a successful prosecution, because oftentimes you will see that many cases are thrown out of court for lack of evidence, whereas lack of evidence can be cured by proper investigations. So the state can come and say they seek a postponement for further investigations. And the court maybe can look into that, but any unreasonable delays, the Criminal Procedure Act, I think it's section 342 capital A, does also say, look, you cannot prolong unnecessarily or without good reason, you know. So, but in this instance, I foresee another postponement for further investigation so that the state's case is watertight. So we are still quite a long way off, in my view, from seeing the actual trial starting out, from seeing actually even the first witness taking the stand. So besides the accused being 12 and us being at a possibility of seeing more, the state also has got a number of witnesses in support of the charges against the accused. So also it will depend on the number of witness statements that need to be taken in, the security of the witnesses, what steps must be taken to make sure that they will be able to come to court and give evidence. So we are quite a long way off from seeing a trial actually kick off, which I would encourage with the type of charges that these people are facing. I would really say that let's rather push for thorough investigation so that we come out with truths, so that at the end of the day, an innocent man is not found guilty.
Yes. And
a guilty man is not set free.
Yes. That's a very interesting point indeed. Looking ahead as to what's to come this week with all 12 appearing in court, because Nandi Pama-Gudumana turned the story around and alleged she was forced by Tabo Bester to flee the country with her, can she say that she does not want to appear in the same dock as Tabo Bester with these court proceedings? Is that a legal argument that her defense could put forward, or it's a standard that all 12 accused, they have to appear at the same court in the dock together on Wednesday?
You know, it would be, the Criminal Procedure Act does also give a provision where there is good cause shown that even co-accused can apply for a separation of trials, for whatever reason that they may have. The reasons vary from all sorts of prejudices and possibility of incriminations and so on. That is possible. It is given and it is catered for in our law. However, in this instance, if we look at that particular claim and saying that, look, I was abducted, I left the country without my own will and volition and so on, not much of that argument was brought forward, especially in the bail application, because we only hear about those allegations in the bail application. There was no evidence in support of that statement, and I would be quite surprised if they come to court and now she claims that she doesn't want to be in the same court. And when we look at the conduct of the two of them in the
first appearance, but
yes, in that other appearance, it does not really match with the story of saying I was kidnapped. So, and look, I wouldn't put it past her to bring forth such an application, looking at the number of applications that she has already brought. But with the failed bail application, I think I would speculate that she would then at this stage allow processes to unfold without clustering the system now with more and more applications which are a failure after failure. You know, so at this stage, I don't think they would bring such an objection forward.
Then again, this is the stuff of movies, so we don't know until we see what happens in court, do we, Advocate?
Indeed.
Thank you very much for your time, for joining us in studio. Advocate Baloyi there, joining us to unpack the situation that's going to be going down in Bloemfontein on Wednesday when it comes to the Tabo Bester trial. Well, not trial rather, but those court proceedings between the 12 accused. Hearing there that the trial is a way off still.